Welcome, everyone. Lovely to see so many people here interested in Kubernetes and CNCF and cloud-native technologies. Always super nice to see. So welcome. This is top new CNCF projects to look out for. Very happy to be here speaking to you today. Now, what value do you get by attending this talk? Since this is not like a step-by-step beginner guide or advanced guide into any particular project or technology, the answer in this case is not as simple as, learn 101 or something, but rather, I think the goal here today is to get inspired and get to know cool CNCF projects. Because I cannot kind of take you through multiple projects into, kind of like step-by-step guide into how to get started with all of them. So it's going to be more about inspiration, different projects that you can check out on your own time for more deeper and in-depth knowledge. But hopefully the inspiration will come and you'll be like, oh, I want to try that out as well myself and so forth. So that's the end goal today, and hopefully the value as well. So hi, I'm Annie, and I'm a senior product marketing manager at Camunda, which is a process orchestration company, a German one. The headquarters are in Berlin. But I'm also a CNCF ambassador as well as an Azure MVP. And what those two essentially just mean that I speak about containers and Kubernetes way too much everywhere for everyone and anyone who would be interested in listening about that. I'm also a Kubernetes and CNCF meetup co-organizer for Finland for 5 years now. And I also coach early stage startups, and I am a co-host of the Cloud Gossip podcast as well. And I have to say that for once we actually have a proper big screen. So I feel like all the words are absolutely gigantic there. Like my picture is probably bigger than me as a whole. But lovely. And I'm based in Zurich nowadays. So it was a quick flight over here. I was very happy about that. But my Swiss German or German is not quite there yet still, so the Q&A, no German questions maybe, but maybe someday I'll get it up to par so that I can talk in German as well. But yeah, let's get started. So CNCF, Cloud Native Computing Foundation. Since this is in the title, probably you know that that's kind of something that we're going to be talking about. So CNCF Code is building sustainable ecosystems for cloud native software. So it is a non-profit foundation underneath a Linux Foundation, and it hosts really interesting events such as KubeCon plus Cloud Native Con, as well as actually it's a home to all the really cool open source projects that I'm going to be talking about today. And now the impact of cloud native, I think, is undeniable at this point, and the fact that Kubernetes is kind of like taking over the world by storm, I guess one could say. And I think the CNCF survey, which is an annual survey that CNCF does, looking into container and Kubernetes technologies and their adoption, in the 2021 survey, which is the most recent one, with the results out, 96% of organizations are either using or evaluating using Kubernetes. So it's definitely getting bigger every moment. Yeah, and if you are new to CNCF, you might not have seen this before, which usually is an absolute monster to show in conferences. But with this like big screen, maybe you can actually see something there. But even nevertheless, it is very much a bit of a warper to look at. It's very big, and if you've seen it for the first time, it's confusing. It's confusing, to be honest, going along the way as well. So my goal today is this is the CNCF cloud native landscape, meaning all of the kind of prominent projects around this landscape are mapped here. So the goal today is to not be intimidated by this host of huge amount of projects, look into a few of them in a bit more detail, so that we explore certain parts of the landscape a bit more. For sure. How many have you seen actually this before? Okay, a lot of you. That's good. We have a lot of proper CNCF folks here then. And then really quickly, these 3 stages of CNCF projects are sandbox, incubating, and graduated. And as you can see from the arrows, if you would kick off as a really new project within the foundation, you would start from the sandbox phase. That's for early stage projects. Usually the bar to get there is very low. There's still some things that you need to fulfill, but essentially you can kind of get started in the sandbox, and as you mature, you move on to the incubating phase and then to the graduated phase, which on the graduated phase, it requires a lot out of the maintainers, for example, to get to that phase, because you really need to have gone through a rigorous process, and then you are fully recommendable for production, for example. So this session, particularly because it's top new CNCF projects, I'm not a fortune teller. I cannot truly know what will be big in the future, but obviously I can make educated guesses, and I can kind of really speak about the technologies that I'm excited about, as well as other people around me are excited about. So that's the goal here today. And as expectation, particularly this session, since this is a 15-minute session, I do this also in a 60-minute format sometimes. So this is going to be very rapid fire, getting through a few projects really fast, so that hopefully the interest and inspiration will spark at some of them. So the session, the projects that I'll be running through today are Linkerd, Kada, Flux, KubeVirt, and Meshery. And at this point, I always love asking, so how many here has heard about Linkerd? Perfect, quite a bit. That's good. That's the graduated project here, so that should be the most known. Then Kada, a few hands as well. Flux, actually even more, but I know Flux is kind of incubating, but it's still getting out there quite a lot. And then KubeVirt, a few, perfect. Meshery, only one hand I see, okay. Or maybe two, maybe there was someone else moving their hand. But great, so we have quite a cloud-native audience. That's always nice to see, but good to know that there's a new project, at least for the most of you as well, towards the end at least. Yeah, because I tried to keep this session in a way that there's a few graduated projects, incubating, and sandbox, so that everyone can get something out of it, no matter where you are in your cloud-native learning path. So Linkerd is the first project that I'll be talking today. So as mentioned before, Linkerd is a graduated project. So it is the most mature out of the ones that I'll be speaking about today. So it is a service mesh. It's ultra-light, ultra-fast, security-first service mesh for Kubernetes. And it is the first service mesh that are around. There's also Istio now entering the CNCF, which is a bit of a different approach to service mesh, but nevertheless. And the overall goal of Linkerd is to reduce mental overhead of having a service mesh to begin with. So what does Linkerd then provide? It provides observability, reliability, security, which means like retries and timeouts, and success rate, latencies, and so forth. So a bit more about the benefits. Linkerd has a really, really thriving open source community around it. So very welcoming, very nice. And it has a very simple and minimalist design, so it really requires no complex APIs or configuration. So for most applications, Linkerd will just kind of work out of the box. It provides deep runtime diagnostics, so you can get a comprehensive diagnostic tool set. And then it's ultra-light and ultra-fast. So Linkerd is built in Rust, and the data plane proxies are very small and fast. And it installs in seconds with zero configuration. So Linkerd's control plane installs into a single namespace. And then it also provides those actionable service metrics, so golden metrics, for example, success rate, request volume, and latency. And Linkerd also has its own custom proxy, Linkerd 2 proxy, which is different, for example, to Istio that I mentioned earlier as well. It uses Envoy proxy, which is another CNCF project. So what is needed to use Linkerd? It's very simple. You just inject this, and then you're good to go. And having run through many times the Linkerd Getting Started guide, it truly is very easy to get started with, if anyone's wondering on that. Then off to the next project, because as I said, this is going to be quite rapid fire today. So we have Kubernetes event-driven autoscaling from Kada. So what is Kada then? So default Kubernetes scaling is not really well suited for event-driven applications, and Kubernetes is more for resource-based scaling, so CPU and memory. But this is exactly where Kata comes in. So Kata is event-driven scale controlling that can run inside any Kubernetes cluster. So that it can monitor the rate of events to preemptively act before CPU is even affected. So that's the magic. That's where the benefit comes to. And you can install it into new or existing clusters, and it has extensible and pluggable scalers to grab metrics from multiple sources. And now, what are the principles that Kata is built around? It's to not rebuild anything that Kubernetes offers out of the box. It's single purpose, simple and non-intrusive, and it works with any container and any workload. And then I have a super quick Kata demo, which is going to be extra quick today, since we are doing this session very fast. So it is scaling .NET Core Worker with Azure Service Bus. So then let's get to the demo. Let's hope that we get through this fast. And the internet is our friend today. There we go. So before we actually get to the magic part, okay, this is going to be a bit tricky with me reaching over there constantly. We need to get the external IP. Oh, damn, this is, okay. Excuse me, I have to. This, I would definitely break my neck if I tried to copy this external IP without moving a bit away from the camera. And I hope the camera people are okay. Then we're gonna go here. This is like an extra circus show with me trying to not break my neck here today. Then we're gonna get a bit of visibility into our environment. There we go, with commands. And then the last one, as far as these things go, then we're gonna go there. There we go. So there we will now see how many order processors are ready, what is their status, and that's the goal there. And then to actually get started, and the demo part of it will be, well, the magic part will be very, very quick. So hold on to your hats. So we put in the command there, and then it asks us, how many orders do you want? So essentially, I showed the architecture really quickly there before, but you can imagine that this is just a simple web shop where you order a lot of things, and then you suddenly have a huge peak of orders coming in. For example, if you are selling something for Christmas, and then suddenly, you know, Christmas shopping rush comes in, and then we want to queue 100 orders, and then we see all of the queuing is starting to happen. We see so many new orders piling in. And then we can see here, this one is starting to spike up and up. And then we should see more action in here as well, because all of the order processors should soon start to be automatically scaled up. And as we can see now, we see there that there is 3 out of 4 ready. We see that it's pending container creating, it's running more towards the end there as well. We see the peak being met, and now we see it decreasing because we have successfully automatically scaled up to meet that demand. As you can see, there's no more orders coming in, so we should be handling all the orders now nicely. And we can see it now going down a bit, and then in here we should see, if my face is not, but our shadow is not blocking it, we see 10 out of 10 order processors in use, which should be pretty much the max amount that is used for a this kind of case where we have 100 orders coming in. Now we can see that here the order queue has gone to 0, so there is no longer any more orders coming in. So that's exactly goal met nicely. We have auto-scaled up, and now Kata will also auto-scale down. But we're not going to wait for that because that takes a couple of minutes or so. But that was the magic of Kata in action here really quickly. Now, we are a bit tight on time because of the circus act here a bit. We have running through Flux, which is an incubating project, as was Kata as well, but Kata is moving towards graduation now. So Flux is a GitOps project, so you have all of these tools, for example, kubectl by, kubectl set image, hell upgrade. You can replace all of these with the command git push. So this is what happens when GitOps and Flux provides. So really it means that instead of changing the state of your cluster with multiple things, you can use one command to modify something and push it to your Git repository. So GitOps really provides the one model for making infrastructure, apps, and Kubernetes add-on changes, and you have a consistent end-to-end workflow across your organization. So really what it means in a nutshell, that you actually have a snapshot of your cluster that you can restore to. It's not going to restore everything, so no stateful sets or no databases, but it's like a desired state that you can save towards to. And I think a lot of people were familiar here with Flux, but really what Flux aims to provide is a complete continuous delivery platform on top of Kubernetes and supporting all common practices and tooling in the field, like customize Helm metrics with Prometheus and so forth. There's a lot of practices and benefits to Flux that I were kind of mentioned in the previous slide as well, but it really helps with collaboration on infra, access control, auditable history, and drift correction. Now we're going to be really quick with KubeVirt. So KubeVirt really enables developers to work with new containerized technology. So if you have, legacy projects that you need to still use, because legacy will not go away fast, so then this technology provides a unified development platform where developers can build, modify, and deploy applications residing in both application containers as well as virtual machines. So you can then really manage virtual machines for impractical to containerize apps, and you can combine existing virtualized workloads with new container workloads on the one platform, and you can support development of new microservice applications in containers that interact with existing virtualized applications. So particularly if you have a case that you're working a lot with legacy technologies and you need to you want to start moving towards cloud native, KubeVirt is definitely worth checking out there. And then last but not the least is Meshery, which is a sandbox project. It's quite a new sandbox project as well. Some projects stay in the sandbox phase for multiple years, but Meshery, I think, was added to the sandbox under a year ago at least, or half a year or so. So Meshery is service mesh management plane. So when service mesh is control plane and data plane, then Meshery adds the management plane there. So if you have a case in your organization where you need to be running multiple service meshes like Linkerd and Istio, for example, Meshery is a way to handle that complexity really nicely. So the management plane provides federation, integrates with backend systems, and may help perform chaos engineering and provides deeper insight to the performance as well there. Now, even though Meshery is a very new project, it's actually going very strong. It's the #1 project in Linux Foundation internship program, and it has a lot of maintainers already, and it supports over 10 different service meshes. And it really helps with multi-mesh management, and you can see a list of benefits there. So wrap up, really rapid fire today. We have gone through a CNCF overview. We have gone through Linkerd, Kata, KubeVirt, Flux, and Meshery. Very fast, 15 minutes, a few minutes over time. But there's a lot of learn more resources that you can always use. I will post these slides, including these links to my GitHub, so you can always hop in there if you need them there. As well as I always recommend CNCF survey is really great. All the project sites obviously have more information on than CNCF. YouTube has 30-minute-ish sessions usually out of all of these projects. So if you want to actually deep dive into one of them more, as well as if you want to think about more about the predictions for technological futures, there's the Technical Oversight Committee. Liz Rice does a session on that, the predictions from the Technical Oversight Committee, so that's really great. If you want to learn more about the maintainer side of things, so in my podcast I interviewed Tom Kirchhoff, which is one of the maintainers of Kata. So it was a very candid and nice discussion where he talks about like what does it feel to maintain a quite successful open source project. Is all of his time going to this? Does he have any time for anything else? What does working with the CNCF mean, and so forth? So if that's of interest, highly recommend listening into that one. And I hope the one thing that everyone can take away here is the inspiration. I hope people learned something new. At least everyone was hopefully found at least one new project here today. So thank you, everyone.